Establish boundaries. Don't try to please everyone. Learn to say no. I know that many times acting this way is almost impossible. After all, we live in fear of what others will think. We let others invade our freedom and dictate our actions. I know we need to share generosity to build a strong and unshakable character. You learn from Stoicism to be kinder, but that doesn't mean overriding your values to prioritize someone else. Often, we set ourselves on fire to warm others. Don't always be available. Know the right time to serve. Being seen as kind is great only for those who receive such generosity. Comment below, how do you feel when your generosity knows no bounds? After all, we know that in this world, we don't always receive what we offer. Stop prioritizing others. Be selfish and put yourself first. In this video, you'll learn to remodel your life with the Stoic way of being. Therefore, I'll share 7 situations that result from excessive kindness and gentleness and how, in practice, we establish limits in our lives based on Stoic knowledge. If you're new here, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and activate notifications. It's simple but greatly helps us, besides bringing this mental clarity to more people. Don't set yourself on fire to warm others. Stoics emphasize the importance of living in accordance with reason and virtue. These principles guide actions and decisions in pursuit of a meaningful and ethical life. Establishing boundaries in our relationships is essential to maintain and preserve balance, avoiding compromising our authenticity and well-being for others. Sometimes, by reaching out or offering help unknowingly, we willingly subject ourselves to suffering. This reminds me of a story that took place on a farm between the friendship of a horse and a donkey, and I'd like to share it with you. One night, the horse confided in the donkey about the hardship of its routine, working tirelessly, pulling the plow from dawn till dusk, enduring the day's heat, leg fatigue, and the harness hurting its neck. Meanwhile, you, donkey, enjoy rest and have few responsibilities, even lounging all day when the farmer leaves. The donkey was a good friend and understood the horse. "My dear friend," it replied, "you indeed have a heavy workload, and I would like to help. Here's what you can do to have a day off. In the morning, when the farmhand comes, lie on the ground and make the loudest groans you can, so he thinks you're sick and unable to work." The horse followed the advice, and the next day, the farmhand informed the owner that the horse was sick and couldn't be used for plowing. Consequently, the farmer ordered the donkey to take on the task for the entire day. The donkey, who only wanted to help its companion, was forced to do the horse's work. At night, the donkey was exhausted and hurt, while the rested horse wanted to thank him, saying, "You're a good friend. Thanks to your advice, I rested the whole day." The donkey, lamenting, retorted, "I, on the other hand, am like many compassionate hearts who begin by helping a friend and end up being forced to take on their tasks." Have you ever felt like the horse in your life? Share your story in the comments. It's crucial, as in the story, we often want to help someone so much that we spare no effort. Stoicism teaches us to practice self-assessment, meaning always questioning our immediate reactions and striving to live by reason. This process prevents impulsive actions, promoting choices aligned with our values. As Epictetus, one of the most renowned and wise Stoic philosophers, expressed in his discourses, when you're about to embark on a task, pause for a minute and reflect on the nature of the task. You will carry out your task with greater security if, before you begin, you tell yourself, "I want to accomplish this task, and at the same time, I want to maintain my moral purpose in harmony with nature." Stoicism trains us for a new way of thinking, and the lesson here becomes clear. If you want to help a friend, do so, but in a way that doesn't place their burdens upon your shoulders. Stoics teach us to cultivate balanced relationships where both parties contribute fairly, and neither is excessively sacrificed. In summary, the maxim "don't set yourself on fire to warm others" aligns with Stoic principles of living rationally, fostering balanced relationships, and avoiding excessive sacrifices that might compromise your integrity and well-being in all aspects of life. Reciprocity has an expiration date. Offering our best and expecting nothing in return is a genuinely noble attitude, as Stoicism emphasizes. However, often when we give, we find ourselves expecting others to reciprocate with the same level of generosity. Regardless of what you do or have done for someone, it's essential to understand that reciprocity has a deadline. Even if someone is deeply grateful at the moment and tells you they'll never forget to help, most people completely forget over time. Sometimes, we create expectations about others' actions, holding the belief that someone would never act in a certain way, or we can rely on someone for everything, regardless of what happens to us. In a way, we expect recognition and reciprocity. But when these expectations aren't met, problems arise, and we feel devastated and betrayed. Therefore, avoiding placing our happiness in others' actions, giving without expecting too much in return, shields us against disappointments and teaches us about emotional detachment, providing greater mental peace. According to the Stoics, the problem starts with our expectations. Presuming that others will respond in the same way as us makes us entirely vulnerable. It's natural to expect reciprocity, but Stoicism reminds us that we don't control others' actions, only our own actions and reactions. The wisdom of Epictetus in his discourses emphasizes this. There are two rules to keep at the ready, that there is nothing good or bad outside of my rational choice, and that we shouldn't try to lead events but follow them. Epictetus' quote reinforces the idea that we must accept events as they occur without creating illusory expectations or trying to control them, and recognize that good and evil are related to our rational choice. Therefore, when being generous, become aware that reciprocity may not always come. Let's avoid creating high expectations. Often, expecting reciprocity can lead to discouragement, frustration, and disillusionment. The key lies in focusing on what you can control, ensuring that your actions are genuinely productive, and not wasting your time on things we have no power to change. Stoicism teaches us that true wealth lies in our ability to give without expecting reciprocation, finding joy in the act of giving, and preserving our mental peace regardless of others' reactions. It is a fundamental principle. Therefore, let us learn to focus on actions within our reach, cultivating a detached generosity that brings inner satisfaction even without the guarantee of recognition or reciprocity. 3 recipients have no limits. If we turn back a few centuries, we'll see that some royalty relied on attendants to dress them, comb their hair, and perform basic personal hygiene tasks. This lack of boundaries seems absurd to us today. However, looking at your own life within your day, how often do people ask you for favors that they could easily do themselves? People naturally expect something from us. Stoicism helps us set boundaries and offers ways to make them real in our lives. The practice of moderation, one of the Stoic virtues, becomes a guide amidst countless demands, aids, and limitless requests. Stoicism advises us to balance our generosity instead of passively accepting unlimited requests and favors. By offering in a balanced manner, we retain control over our actions, avoiding patterns that erode our emotional well-being. When we continually take on others' responsibilities, we not only burden ourselves but also prevent others from growing and facing their challenges. This became clear in a story of a mother and her grown-up daughter in a small town. Despite being elderly, the mother lovingly cared for her sick daughter, preventing her from assuming her own responsibilities. For years, the daughter depended on her mother for everything, and whenever she rose, it was only for basic needs. As the mother always postponed her routine checkups, sadly, on a certain day, the mother fell ill suddenly and passed away. This left many concerned about the daughter's well-being, now without maternal care. After her mother's death, the daughter surprised everyone by resuming her normal life, showing how excessive care, no matter how good the intentions and love involved, can hinder personal growth. This dilemma doesn't only affect others but also ourselves. Constantly assuming others' responsibilities while neglecting our own needs imprisons us in a cycle of one-sided giving. In this dynamic, only one person gives while the other only receives. This pattern drains our energy and entirely undermines our emotional well-being. Practicing moderation and generosity by giving in a balanced way allows us to maintain control over our actions, avoiding habits that disrupt our emotional balance. If we get accustomed to constantly giving, those benefiting from our generosity may start to expect and desire more and more. Receivers have no limits. No matter how much you give, it will always seem insufficient. It's crucial to practice generosity, but it's also vital to establish clear boundaries and balance how we offer help. By preserving our peace and well-being, we encourage others to take on their responsibilities and grow as individuals. Remember the wisdom of Emperor Marcus Aurelius, who shared in his Meditations, "The duty of a man is to stand upright, not to be kept upright by others." In this delicate balance, we discover a genuine generosity that benefits both others and ourselves. Superficial connections rather than genuine ones. Seneca, a renowned statesman, writer, and Stoic philosopher, left a significant legacy by sharing his wisdom through letters, including his reflections on friendship and genuine connection in relationships. In his words, he emphasizes that he who begins to be your friend because it pays will also cease because it pays. A man will be attracted to some reward offered in exchange for his friendship, if he is drawn to something in friendship beyond friendship itself. Seneca stresses the importance of cultivating true bonds devoid of external motivations. Being excessively generous can result in superficial connections driven by specific interests, whether financial or something we can frequently do or offer. Often, we might condition our value on what we can do or offer and not on who we are, either out of fear of judgment, not wanting to displease, or not feeling deserving enough. Excessive generosity can often be a way to express this conditioning. As compensation, we end up expressing excessive gratitude and devoting ourselves too much to others. In practice, Stoicism emphasizes the importance of self-sufficiency and internal control, allowing you to gain a solid foundation. Principles that do not align with this behavior are sense of value, worthiness, and satisfaction are internal feelings that should come from within. Thus, we must work on our self-esteem and beliefs about ourselves constantly. This dynamic isn't limited only to friendships, it extends to all aspects of our relationships, whether professional, personal, or social. Building connections driven by interests creates a fragile base that certainly doesn't withstand minor changes or minimal challenges. As Epictetus reminds us, in prosperity, it is easy to find friends. In adversity, there is nothing more difficult. We must establish our relationships based on accepting who we are, including our flaws and qualities. This way, we build connections that not only allow us to grow but primarily recognize and accept our true essence. Priorities take a back seat. The primary goal of Stoicism is to live a virtuous life. To achieve this, it's necessary to constantly refine our character and learn to master our emotions, giving us direction to achieve our best version. However, when we overload ourselves with others' responsibilities, we are heading in the opposite direction. It's crucial to set boundaries in our relationships and prioritize our responsibilities to preserve balance and avoid compromising our authenticity and well-being for others. If you feel suffocated by others' priorities, it's possible that you're avoiding some internal pain and fear. When we engage in others' responsibilities, we end up neglecting our own, leading to neglecting our own lives. In a way, it's easier not to face our limits and internal fears and use this as justification for the time we dedicate to others' priorities. However, the cost of this relentless dedication is high. You lose yourself in the process and realize that your own life is being forgotten due to excessive concern for others' problems. Your inner voice becomes muffled sooner or later when facing the quietness of your own being. The pain and fear you tried to avoid return with renewed intensity. It's essential to recognize that attending to our own needs and priorities isn't selfishness, but a form of self-care and preservation of authenticity. Stoics teach us that setting boundaries and living in accordance with virtues isn't just an act of self-love, but also a path to a meaningful life. Seneca, one of the most prominent philosophers, sheds light on this reality by saying, "Of all the days of our life, few are dedicated to ourselves." The next time you feel tempted to lose yourself in constant service to others, pause, acknowledge the uncomfortable emotions that arise in solitude, and welcome them with compassion. Allow yourself to be authentic in your desires and needs. Set healthy boundaries and learn to say no when necessary. You'll discover that by honoring your authenticity, not only will you enrich yourself internally, but you'll also be able to offer balanced and genuine generosity to others. Therefore, it's essential to learn to distribute your time and knowledge efficiently and understand the importance of putting your oxygen mask on first. This way, you can help others more effectively without ignoring your own needs. Seen and treated as fragile. Stoicism encourages us to develop inner strength and self-control, cultivating a healthier mind by establishing boundaries and practicing self-discipline. When you offer excessive help over time, instead of being seen as authorities or collaborators, ironically, it can create the opposite impression. In this context, the lack of boundaries makes you vulnerable. People perceive this fragility, and instead of respecting you, they might start taking advantage of you, using and exploiting you in various ways. They begin to see you as someone always ready to help, always willing to take on any task without questioning. As a result, they end up exploiting and abusing this willingness, leading to situations of exhaustion and complete frustration. However, when you start saying no firmly but respectfully, something surprising happens. People begin to perceive you differently. You cease to be someone willing to accept everything unquestioningly and become a person who values themselves enough to set boundaries, deserving to be treated with dignity and consideration. This change in perception is crucial because by uttering this simple word, you transform how others see you. You overcome your mental barriers and become a strong person capable of defending your own limits and, consequently, worthy of respect. Ultimately, respect doesn't just come from what you do for others, but also from how you treat yourself. Seneca, one of the greatest writers and Stoic philosophers of his time, already knew this truth when he said, "What you think of yourself is much more important than what others think of you." By setting boundaries and practicing self-discipline, you send a clear message to the world that you deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. Therefore, the next time you find yourself in a situation where your limits are being tested, remember the power contained in this small word "no." By pronouncing it, you are defending yourself and reaffirming your own worth. Our actions send messages to the world and the people around us. If you are willing to help unconditionally, it's natural that people will approach you only when they need something. This happens naturally, and it can have challenging consequences, such as some friends who used to enjoy your company beginning to exclude you from parties, social events, or small celebrations, only remembering you in situations where they need help. Consideration seems to exist only when they need a favor. This behavioral pattern may seem cruel, but from a new perspective, it's not so surprising. Generally, people prefer to invite close friends, family, or those with whom they maintain genuine and balanced relationships for leisure moments, excluding coworkers or collaborators. This change in how we are treated can be disconcerting and totally unfair, but that's how it works. You find yourself in a position where you offer help with an open heart only to feel excluded during moments of relaxation. This selective treatment can hurt, generating feelings of disillusionment and betrayal. However, from a Stoic point of view, this dynamic is a test of discernment, challenging you to recognize who truly values your friendship and esteem, and who is merely taking advantage of your generosity. To discern who our true friends are, we should pay attention to actions, not words, from those around us. It's important to remember that Stoicism doesn't encourage cynicism or distrust, but rather the cultivation of a deep understanding of human nature. By practicing discernment, we can choose to help those who genuinely need it and will appreciate our genuine support. In doing so, we conserve our energies and surround ourselves with people who value us for who we are, not just for what we can offer. Stoicism equips us with tools to thrive in life by working with the mind. This challenge presents an opportunity to practice Stoic self-discipline, establishing clear boundaries, and deciding how to invest our energy and time, keeping our generosity balanced and directed towards those who truly value our help. By doing this, we can live in accordance with Stoic principles, finding peace and satisfaction in the complexities of human relationships. Setting your boundaries is a straightforward process. However, without practice, it can leave you feeling disoriented about where to begin. Let's explore strategies to prevent people from using you. First strategy: eliminate the fear of saying no. Ask yourself, what is the root of your fear of saying no? Often, this behavior stems from childhood, where we were repeatedly taught that if we weren't nice, nobody would like us, or we wouldn't go to heaven. These concepts became internalized as unquestionable truths imbued with fear and registered in memory. However, Stoicism emphasizes the importance of introspection and continuous questioning in seeking a meaningful life full of purpose. As adults, we have the power to decide about our lives. Understanding that fear was instilled in childhood when you didn't have the ability to question the truthfulness of those threats frees you from these possible conditioning. By studying Stoicism, we learn tools to understand our emotions, encouraging reflection and consideration of our responses to life instead of allowing instinct and habit to control us. Saying no in situations where you feel overwhelmed or when the request is unfair is a way to exercise self-control. Second strategy, pay attention to your feelings. Stoicism teaches us to focus on our thought process, understand our emotions, and cultivate a healthy mind. This Stoic tool works on self-reflection and self-awareness. When you pay attention to your feelings, you can identify if you're overcommitting and emotionally draining yourself, allowing adjustments to find a healthy balance. Reflecting on how you feel when helping others, considering both yourself and others' priorities, is essential. Generosity should bring a sense of satisfaction, almost like walking on clouds. If, on the other hand, you feel overwhelmed, drained, irritable, or used, it's time to pay attention to your feelings. Third strategy, see yourself as a priority. Sometimes, we become experts in the most bizarre and unusual matters but neglect ourselves. Following Stoic principles of self-discipline and self-respect, it's crucial to reserve time and space to care for yourself. Stoicism is the study that cares for our souls, and the more we practice it, the more we learn to take care of ourselves. Therefore, don't neglect yourself. Take care of your health, body, and emotions. Consider yourself a priority, and take it seriously. Embrace yourself, forgive yourself for mistakes and flaws, and consider this upcoming year as an opportunity for new beginnings. Choose an activity that is solely yours, and during this time, be generous with yourself. Set boundaries and don't feel guilty saying no. If someone wants to encroach upon this time, you can always offer help, but make it clear that your availability will be limited because you have a life to take care of. Fourth strategy, identify the takers. Following Stoic principles of self-discipline and discernment, it's important to recognize which relationships benefit you and which might drain you. By distancing yourself from people who constantly drain your energy without contributing positively, you're taking care of your well-being and applying Stoic self-control in your relationships. Takers are people who always demand more, whether it's attention, continuous complaints, your time, or even money. Even if you try to help, you'll likely end up drained, and they might not change. Maintaining this type of relationship resembles a parasitic dynamic, with the taker draining the host until it dries up. Stoics believe that affectionate ties can extend to all human beings and teach us to have the psychological strength to modify them. We control our ability to choose kindness and generosity, just as we control our ability to discern and use temperance to balance our relationships. If you've made it this far, comment gratitude. Thank you for watching, and until the next video.